And what he later found out is that those trucks went to another camp, and then inside the camp, they locked all the prisoners in and set it ablaze. So he would have burned to death. So let's recap real quick what exactly the story is about. Like the first half of the book, at least, is telling Viktor Frankl's story as his experiences. I think he spent 3 years in a, not internment camp. What do you call the I guess like labor camps. What do you call the
concentration camp?
Concentration camp. I couldn't think of the word. Yeah. So 3 years, both in Dachau and, was it Auschwitz? I forget.
Maybe. Or there's one that starts with a B. This is terrible. I should know.
Yeah, he was transferred a little bit, but regardless, he was taken with his family at the time. I think his wife was 23. He was in his 20s as well. His wife, his mom, his dad, and his brother, I believe, they're all taken, and they got in the cattle cars sent to Belky. We'll at some point verify which one first, but whatever.
I was doing that. It's Auschwitz.
It looked
for a
like,
while.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought.
You read it today.
There's a lot in the book, all right? Can't memorize every detail.
Yeah.
So he gets there and
wait, that's a really good point, by the way, because you ask me, you're like, why do you listen to things so fast? And I tell you, like, well, I'm not going to get every single detail, but you know, I get the large concepts that they keep. There was someone who only reads the intro, like the first chapter or two, and then the last one, following like 80-20. You know, you can read 20% of the book and take away 80% of the outcome or output. But yeah,
that gets depressing.
Yeah, I don't like. Okay, I want to make the point that I think it's more important that you understand Viktor Frankl's point than what year he was in which concentration camp. You know, like right. Your brain doesn't have the space for that kind of thought.
That's for Jeopardy, and you're never going to be on Jeopardy, right. Most likely. So he gets there with his family, and immediately when you're coming in off the cattle cars, there's one person standing. One Nazi, I forget what they call them in this case, but they basically separate like left or right. And left means you're going straight to the baths, which means gas chambers. And then right means you're going to the labor camp, essentially, because you have to be healthy enough. And so 90%, I think he says the number, goes to the left immediately. So his entire family just sent to the left, except him. And I think because he knew like this was important, he kind of, got his stature up and just looked healthy, and that got him in, at least saved him in the first case. And it happens repeatedly. We'll get into it, but so many of these little fate scenarios where it's just like luck of the draw that he made it because so few did. And he says, and I like this and respect it, where he says that the best didn't make it out of these concentration camps because the only way that you can survive is by cutting a little edge, like getting a little bit extra bread, stealing it from someone, or like, you don't volunteer for the hard work or whatever, or you've like find your way by luck. It's just like the best of the best don't make it through. That was one of the little nugget takeaways.
Wait, the best of the best make it through?
Don't make it through.
Don't make it through.
Like only the people that are willing to cut corners, be a little bit evil in the sense of like pushing someone else under the bus to save themselves.
Ooh.
Will make it.
But that goes against what he says later on about kind of servitude, and like the ultimate being is serving somebody else, being so selfless. He said the more one forgets himself, the more human he is, and the more he actualizes himself. But it sounds like, and again, I didn't read the book today, but it sounds like what you took away was you actually have to burn little bridges to get an edge.
Well, I mean, it's not like that's not a big takeaway for me. It's more so admitting like there are other stories of important people and not to put them on a pedestal as doing something heroic. There are probably other lessons to take away from that. But yeah, so he gets there and immediately it's crazy. Like the conditions that they're going through is just horrendous. They get like one piece of bread a day and soup with no peas most of the time. It's just broth and barely anything at that. So people, it's literally your body is just eating itself until you die. And and he had the luck of being a doctor, so they treated him a little bit better than most because they're like, oh, doctor, he can help with some of the sick people, especially when, say, the staff, I don't want to call them the staff, but like whoever was in charge of the concentration camps would get sick. So he was treated a little bit better in that sense. But it was just brutal day in and day out. And this is in Poland, I believe. Yeah, Poland, right? So it was just frigid weather for, at least half of the year. And they don't have shoes. Like if they had nice shoes, they'd have to give them to the guards. And then they'd get beaten if they were trying to keep their own shoes and like cut pieces off so it looked like they're crappy and the guards didn't want them. All these little stories of just like you try and cut corners there and you'll get reprimanded. So it's just the hardest conditions you can ever imagine.
And then what comes out of that is his three sources of meaning, right? What? How was he liberated ultimately when the U.S. came in?
Well, it's crazy. Like there's so many little instances of him just like somehow picking the right path.
Yeah.
That, like, for example, he went from, I guess, Auschwitz to Dachau. I believe Dachau was the second one. And I might be getting this wrong, but the second one, I guess, is if it's Dachau, they didn't have chimneys. So everyone was excited when they moved camps. And I think they were moving camps because the Allies were coming in on them. So they had to keep moving. But they go to this one without chimneys. They're all happy, etc. They spend some time there. And then the Allies are getting closer, like the front's getting near. So everyone has to leave. And they're putting people, not on trains now, they're putting them in trucks, I believe. And they're like, Viktor has to get on this truck to leave. But for some reason, like his guard just didn't let him go. And so he had to wait for the next truck. And it took a really long time. And it never ended up coming. So what ended up happening was like the Red Cross came, and then the Allies after that. And so they saved them. They liberated them. And what he later found out is that those trucks went to another camp. And then inside the camp, they locked all the prisoners in and set it ablaze. So he would have burned to death.